Anxiety gone in 7 minutes. The only protocol that isn't quackery, breath plus awareness. The air is thick with 1,000 unspoken worries, a constant hum beneath the surface of our days. We're told to breathe, to meditate, to find our center, and yet for so many, the gnawing anxiety persists, a phantom limb of unease that refuses to recede. We've been bombarded with quick fixes, with promises of instant calm. But the truth is, true relief often feels elusive, buried beneath layers of conditioning and the relentless demands of modern life. Have you ever felt that desperate scramble for a moment of peace, only to find it slips through your fingers like sand? That feeling of being perpetually on the edge, a tightrope walk over an abyss of what-ifs. This isn't a sign of weakness. It's a testament to the profound human struggle to navigate a world that often feels overwhelming. A world that bombards us with stimuli and expectations, leaving us feeling fragmented and depleted. We yearn for a sanctuary within ourselves, a quiet space where the storms of external chaos cannot penetrate. But how do we find that sanctuary when the storm seems to rage from within? The conventional advice, while well-intentioned, often falls short because it doesn't address the root of the issue. It's like trying to treat a deep wound with a band-aid. We need something more substantial, something that speaks to the very core of our being, something that doesn't just mask the symptoms, but addresses the underlying energetic and psychological patterns that fuel our distress. This isn't about a magic pill or a 21-day challenge that promises the moon and delivers a sliver of solace. This is about reclaiming a fundamental human capacity, a birthright that has been obscured by the noise of the world. We are going to explore a path that is as ancient as consciousness itself, yet remarkably potent in its application to the anxieties of the 21st century. It's a path that bypasses the superficial and taps into the profound, a path that requires not more doing, but more being. Consider the relentless pressure to always be on, to be productive, to be successful, to be happy even. This external validation seeking can create a deep internal dissonance, a chasm between who we present to the world and the quiet whispers of our own soul. We become adept at performing, at masking our vulnerabilities, at projecting an image of control, all while a silent battle rages within. This internal conflict, this disconnect from our authentic selves, is fertile ground for anxiety to take root and flourish. It thrives in the shadows of our unacknowledged fears, in the weight of our unmet expectations, and in the constant striving for an idealized future that never quite arrives. We're caught in a loop, chasing a horizon that recedes with every step, leaving us exhausted and disillusioned. The irony is that the very things we do to escape our anxiety often serve to amplify it. We distract ourselves with endless scrolling, with compulsive busyness, with the pursuit of fleeting pleasures, all in an attempt to outrun the discomfort. But like a shadow, it follows us, growing larger and more menacing with each evasion. This is the paradox of modern existence. We are more connected than ever before, yet often feel more profoundly alone. We have access to more information and resources than any generation before us, yet many feel a deep and pervasive lack of meaning. This is the fertile ground where the seeds of anxiety find their most potent nourishment. The promise of a simple, effective protocol might sound like a siren song, but what if that protocol isn't about adding something new, but about remembering something ancient? What if the key to unlocking a more serene existence lies not in complex techniques or guru-led retreats, but in the very rhythm of your breath and the quiet power of your focused attention? We've been conditioned to believe that profound change requires arduous effort and elaborate systems. But what if the most transformative tools are already within us, waiting to be rediscovered? This isn't about chasing the latest trend in wellness or succumbing to the allure of a quick fix that ultimately leaves you wanting. This is about a deeper, more authentic engagement with your own inner landscape, a journey into the quiet spaces where true healing and lasting peace reside. The anxiety that grips so many of us is a signal, a deeply human response to feeling disconnected, overwhelmed, or out of control. It's a symptom of a deeper imbalance, and while many approaches offer temporary relief, they often fail to address the fundamental energetic and psychological shifts that are necessary for genuine liberation. We are not looking for a superficial solution, but for a profound recalibration of our inner world. This exploration will guide you toward a more grounded, centered, and resilient way of being, one that honors the complexity of your experience while offering a clear and accessible path toward lasting calm. It's about recognizing that the power to transform your relationship with anxiety isn't external. It resides within the quiet wisdom of your own body and mind, waiting to be awakened. The profound depths of our inner world hold a wisdom that far surpasses the fleeting anxieties of the surface. This realm is not merely a repository of memories or emotions. It is the very crucible where our identity is forged, the silent stage upon which our deepest truths are played out. Within this sacred space resides the soul, an enduring essence that yearns for connection, for meaning, and for an authentic expression of its unique luminescence. Often, our external pursuits, the relentless chase for achievement, the validation sought from others, the constant barrage of societal expectations, act as a veil, obscuring this inner luminescence. We become so engrossed in the performance of life that we neglect the quiet, introspective work of knowing ourselves. This neglect, this disconnect from our soul's true north, is a primary driver of the pervasive sense of unease and apprehension that many experience. It's like navigating a vast ocean without a compass, buffeted by external currents, never quite sure of our direction or purpose. The soul, however, speaks in a language of intuition, of subtle nudges, of a deep, resonant knowing that can guide us through any storm, if only we learn to listen. It's a call to remember our inherent wholeness, to recognize that we are more than our circumstances, more than our perceived failures or successes. Consider the concept of the shadow self, a term that Carl Jung brought into sharp focus. This is not some malevolent entity, but rather the disowned, unacknowledged, and often repressed aspects of our personality. These are the parts of ourselves we deem unacceptable, the traits we hide from the world and, more importantly, from ourselves. When these aspects remain in the darkness, they exert an unconscious influence, manifesting as irrational fears, sudden outbursts of anger, or persistent feelings of inadequacy. The anxiety we experience can be a direct echo of this internal conflict, a desperate cry from the shadow self-seeking integration and acceptance. Think of it like a hidden current beneath the surface of a calm lake. While the top appears serene, the unseen forces below can create powerful, unpredictable eddies. By bringing these disowned parts into the light of awareness, not with judgment, but with compassionate curiosity, we begin to dismantle the power they hold over us. This integration process is not about eradicating these aspects, but about understanding their origins, their purpose, and their place within the rich tapestry of our being. It's about recognizing that even the parts we find most difficult can hold valuable lessons and contribute to our overall strength and wisdom. Furthermore, the human psyche possesses an innate capacity for resilience, a deep wellspring of strength that can be tapped into when we cultivate a conscious relationship with our inner world. This is not about brute force or sheer willpower, but about a gentle, persistent engagement with our own being. William James, the pioneering psychologist and philosopher, spoke of the will to believe, but perhaps an even more potent force is the will to be fully present, to be authentically ourselves, even in the face of discomfort. This involves cultivating a mindful presence, an ability to observe our thoughts and emotions without becoming entirely identified with them. It's the practice of stepping back, of creating a small but significant space between stimulus and response. This space, however brief, is where our freedom lies. It allows us to choose our reaction rather than being swept away by an automatic, often anxious impulse. This conscious pause is where the magic of inner transformation begins to unfold, enabling us to navigate the complexities of life with greater equanimity and grace. The journey inward is not always comfortable. It can involve confronting painful truths, acknowledging past hurts, and releasing deeply ingrained patterns of thought and behavior. This process of emotional healing is integral to dissolving the roots of anxiety. It requires a willingness to feel, to allow emotions to flow through us without resistance, rather than suppressing them or allowing them to fester. Think of the body as a wise, ancient vessel that holds the echoes of our experiences. When we learn to tune into its subtle signals, to listen to its whispers of tension, discomfort, or ease, we gain invaluable insight into our emotional landscape. This embodied awareness is a powerful antidote to the disembodied anxieties that often plague us. It's about honoring the wisdom of our physical being, recognizing that our body is not separate from our mind, but an interconnected part of our whole self. By cultivating this deep listening, we allow the body to release stored emotional energy, paving the way for profound healing and a greater sense of inner peace. This is the authentic work of self-discovery, the courageous exploration of our own inner cosmos. The very fabric of our being is interwoven with subtle yet powerful energies, forces that shape our perception, influence our actions, and ultimately determine our experience of reality. Among these, presence, gratitude, and surrender stand as pillars of a life lived with conscious awareness and profound connection. Presence is not merely about occupying a physical space, it is about inhabiting it fully, with every fiber of your awareness attuned to the unfolding moment. It's the art of being where you are, rather than perpetually projecting yourself into a hypothetical future or dwelling in the echoes of the past. When we cultivate presence, the incessant chatter of anxiety begins to soften, replaced by the quiet hum of aliveness. Consider the simple act of drinking a cup of tea. If your mind is elsewhere, replaying a conversation or planning your next task, the experience is diminished, reduced to a mere biological function. But when you bring your full attention to it, the warmth of the mug in your hands, the aroma rising, the taste on your tongue, you transform a mundane act into a moment of rich, sensory engagement. This practice of grounding your awareness in the present moment is a potent antidote to the anxious mind, which thrives on hypothetical scenarios and future worries. It is in the present that we find our true power, our capacity to act, and our connection to the flow of life. Gratitude, conversely, acts as a powerful energetic amplifier, shifting our focus from scarcity and lack to abundance and inherent goodness. It is a conscious acknowledgement of the blessings, both large and small, that permeate our existence. This isn't about forced positivity or ignoring difficulties. It's about deliberately recognizing the gifts that are already present, often overlooked in the rush of daily life. When you actively seek out reasons for gratitude, the comfort of your home, the kindness of a stranger, the beauty of a sunset, you begin to retrain your energetic field. Anxiety often stems from a feeling of deprivation, a sense that something essential is missing. Gratitude directly counteracts this by highlighting what is abundant, recalibrating your internal compass towards appreciation and contentment. Imagine approaching a challenging situation with a heart full of gratitude for the lessons it might hold, or for the resilience you've already demonstrated. This shift in perspective can fundamentally alter your experience, transforming potential sources of anxiety into opportunities for growth and deeper appreciation. It's a conscious choice to align with the positive currents of existence, drawing them into your awareness with deliberate intent. Surrender, in this context, is not about resignation or defeat, but about a profound act of trust in the unfolding of life. It is the willingness to release the illusion of absolute control, to acknowledge that some aspects of existence are beyond our direct manipulation. This is particularly relevant when facing situations that trigger anxiety, often rooted in a desperate attempt to control outcomes. When we resist what is, when we fight against the natural flow of events, we expend enormous amounts of energy, creating internal friction that fuels anxiety. Conversely, surrender involves a conscious letting go of the need to force a specific result, allowing events to unfold with an open heart and a receptive mind. Think of a river navigating its course. It does not fight the rocks or the bends in its path. Instead, it adapts, flowing around obstacles, its energy directed by the path before it. This doesn't imply passivity, but rather an active engagement with the present reality, free from the constricting grip of rigid expectations. It is in this space of surrender that a profound sense of peace can emerge, a quiet knowing that even in uncertainty, there is a benevolent intelligence guiding the journey. This energetic shift, from striving and resisting to presence, gratitude and surrender, creates a powerful internal environment that naturally disarms the grip of anxiety. It's a recalibration of your energetic signature, aligning you with a state of greater ease and inner harmony. The terrain of anxiety is often characterized by a relentless internal monologue, a cascade of what-ifs and worst-case scenarios that loop ceaselessly, draining our vital energy and distorting our perception of reality. This mental noise, this ceaseless churning of unproductive thoughts, can feel like an inescapable prison. However, the architecture of our minds is not immutable. It is, in fact, remarkably plastic. While we cannot always stop thoughts from arising, we possess an extraordinary capacity to alter our relationship with them. This involves a subtle yet profound shift from being caught in our thoughts to observing them. Much like a sky watcher observes clouds drifting by, the key lies in recognizing that thoughts are not facts. They are ephemeral mental events, electrical impulses in the brain, transient phenomena that do not necessarily reflect objective truth. Developing this observational stance requires dedicated practice, a conscious effort to disengage from the automatic identification with every mental impulse. Building on this, consider the concept of cognitive diffusion, a cornerstone of acceptance and commitment therapy, ACT. It's not about challenging or changing the content of our thoughts, but about changing our relationship to them. Instead of wrestling with anxious thoughts, trying to banish them or prove them wrong, we learn to acknowledge their presence without letting them dictate our actions or emotions. This might involve mentally labeling a thought, there's that worry about the presentation again, or even observing it as if it were a character in a play. This gentle detachment creates psychological distance, diminishing the thought's power to provoke distress. For instance, when faced with a recurring worry about social judgment, instead of becoming consumed by it, one might acknowledge, this thought is arising and it feels uncomfortable, but it is just a thought, not a decree. This subtle recalibration liberates energy previously trapped in rumination, allowing it to be redirected towards more constructive engagement with life. Consequently, the perceived urgency and validity of anxious thoughts begin to wane, paving the way for a more balanced internal landscape. Furthermore, the physical embodiment of anxiety, the tightness in the chest, the racing heart, the shallow breathing, is not merely a byproduct of mental distress. It is an integral part of the anxious experience, a feedback loop that perpetuates the cycle. While previous discussions touched on breath, This facet delves into the deliberate and nuanced intentionality behind physical self-regulation as a direct countermeasure to the physiological manifestations of anxiety. This goes beyond simply taking a deep breath. It involves exploring specific somatic techniques that signal safety and calm to the nervous system. For example, the practice of diaphragmatic breathing, where the emphasis is on a slow, full exhale, can actively down-regulate the sympathetic nervous system, which is responsible for the fight-or-flight response. Another crucial layer is progressive muscle relaxation, a technique where one systematically tenses and then releases different muscle groups. This process not only alleviates physical tension, but also cultivates a heightened awareness of bodily sensations, enabling individuals to identify and release accumulating stress before it escalates into significant anxiety. Conversely, when we allow physical tension to remain unaddressed, it acts as a constant low-grade stressor, creating an internal environment conducive to anxious thoughts. Imagine a tightly wound spring. It's poised for release, easily triggered. Similarly, a body held in a state of chronic tension is primed for an anxious response. Therefore, consciously engaging in somatic practices is not a distraction from the mental aspect of anxiety. It is a direct intervention. It's about reclaiming agency over our physiological state, demonstrating to our nervous system that we are capable of generating a state of calm, regardless of external stresses or internal rumblings. This embodied approach empowers individuals by offering tangible, accessible tools that can be employed in the moment, disrupting the anxious cascade before it takes hold. It's a testament to the profound interconnectedness of mind and body, where tending to one directly influences the well-being of the other, fostering a more resilient and grounded sense of self. As we navigate the intricate tapestry of our inner world, the threads of awareness, energetic alignment, and somatic intelligence begin to weave together, forming a more coherent picture of our potential for transformation. Reflecting on this journey so far, it becomes evident that the persistent hum of anxiety is not an insurmountable fortress, but rather an intricate pattern susceptible to a subtle yet profound recalibration. The insights we've explored suggest a convergence, a point where the fragmented experiences of unease begin to coalesce into a more unified understanding of our innate capacity for peace. It's akin to observing a complex mechanism, where individual gears and levers, once seemingly disparate, are now understood as integral parts of a smoothly functioning whole, each contributing to a greater, emergent purpose. The very nature of our engagement with our internal states is shifting, moving from a reactive stance to one of conscious co-creation. In light of these insights, the path forward becomes clearer, not as a rigid prescription, but as an invitation to embody a different way of being. The echoes of ancient wisdom, when coupled with a practical understanding of our modern psychological landscape, reveal a potent synergy. This isn't about discarding the complexities of our lived experiences, but about finding a grounded center amidst them. It's about recognizing that the subtle shifts we cultivate internally ripple outwards, transforming our perception and our interaction with the world. Think of it as adjusting the lens through which you view reality. The external landscape remains, but its interpretation, its emotional resonance, and its perceived threat level are profoundly altered. As we pivot towards the final reflection, consider the cumulative effect of these explorations. A growing sense of agency, a deeper trust in our own internal compass, and a burgeoning understanding that liberation is not found in the absence of challenges, but in the presence of inner resilience. The convergence of these explorations points toward a fundamental truth, that the most potent remedies are often the most accessible, residing not in external accoutrements, but within the very architecture of our consciousness and the wisdom of our physical form. The journey has illuminated how our energetic state, our conscious attention, and our bodily sensations are not isolated phenomena, but interconnected facets of a singular dynamic being. This understanding fosters a sense of empowerment, suggesting that the keys to navigating the currents of anxiety are already within our grasp, awaiting conscious activation. It is as if we have been shown a map of our own inner terrain, revealing pathways to stillness and clarity that were previously obscured by the fog of distraction and distress. This unfolding awareness prepares us for the final affirmation, a moment to anchor these insights and step forward with renewed purpose. The journey we've embarked upon has been one of gentle unveiling, a turning inward to rediscover the profound capacities that reside within each of us, often obscured by the clamor of the external world. We've journeyed from the initial invitation to stillness, through the deep wells of our inner landscape to the energetic currents that shape our experience and the healing embrace of surrender. We've explored the practical alchemy of awareness and the quiet power of our physical being, recognizing that the alleviation of anxiety is not a distant aspiration, but an immanent possibility. This is not a prescription for a life devoid of challenge, but a testament to our inherent ability to navigate those challenges with grace, resilience, and an unshakable inner peace. The protocol is not in the technique itself, but in the awakening it facilitates, a remembering of our own innate wholeness, a re-establishment of connection with the silent, powerful intelligence that guides us. The essence of this exploration lies in a fundamental shift of perspective, from striving to be to recognizing that we already are. We are not broken entities in need of constant repair, but radiant beings whose light can be dimmed by the shadows of conditioning and fear. The practices we've touched upon, the conscious breath, the mindful observation, the somatic attunement, are not mere exercises. They are portals, gateways that lead us back to our essential nature. They are the keys that unlock the sanctuary within, a space that remains undisturbed by the turbulence of the outer world. In this sanctuary, anxiety loses its grip, not because it has been vanquished, but because our relationship to it has been transformed. We learn to hold it with compassion, to understand its language, and to recognize that it is a visitor, not a permanent resident. This understanding fosters a profound sense of freedom, a liberation from the exhausting battle against ourselves. The true practice begins now, not as a burdensome obligation, but as a gentle unfolding, a daily recommitment to the profound wisdom that resides within. It is in the quiet moments, in the ordinary acts of living, that these insights take root and blossom. It is in the conscious choice to pause, to breathe, to connect with the present moment, that we actively co-create a reality infused with peace and purpose. This is not about achieving a state of perpetual bliss, but about cultivating an enduring inner resilience, a deep-seated knowing that can weather any storm. May you carry this awareness with you, allowing it to illuminate your path and to guide you toward a life lived with greater presence, profound connection, and an abiding sense of inner harmony. The journey inward is the most sacred journey of all, and it is here within the quiet depths of your own being that you will find the answers.